What's up, you guys? Thanks for tuning in. It's Noel over here. You're about to catch a video that I recorded with Pat Hilton. Just wanted to kind of do this introduction. What you're about to see is that Pat himself is a rock star. So he's been featured at the 10X Growth Conference. That's an accomplishment that meant a lot to him. More than that, though, he builds businesses to seven, eight, nine figures. So you're going to learn a lot about wealth creation, a lot of the process of doing whatever it takes. And you get me, how part of the reason of a lot of the strategies that he shares in there are why he's so wealthy and successful today. Not only that, but Pat is a rock star. I mean, an actual rock star. Like, he's not just a rock star in business or like in his personal life, which he is, but I'm saying like he is a rock star in every aspect. Not in just that, but also because he went out and he did music. Like, he was around some of the biggest names out there. When the movie Jackass came out, he was around the entire crew with MTV. He's done music with like AfroMan. He's talked with people like Justin Timberlake. He and like a lot of more stuff when it comes to artists and rock stars in the music industry. So I mean, this is super fucking cool. So I loved doing this episode with him. It was awesome being able to have him, and it was an opportunity for not just you guys to be able to watch, but it was an opportunity and a delight and a treat for me as a 22-year-old, being able to connect with somebody like that and learn with them, right? Learn from them, because you could always learn from people. So learn from other people. This is something that could literally be sold for like $1,000. He's just kind of putting it out, and yeah, I'll catch you guys inside right now. You guys are gonna love this episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Pat Hilton. He is 10X Pat. He performed at the 10X Growth Conference with Grant Cardone. If you guys haven't seen that, you must be under the rock, because it is marketed everywhere. He was one of the lead performers there. Pat himself has had a track record of massive success, shaking hands in the music industry and then transitioning into the business industry simultaneously. He's an expert when it comes to audio engineering, and he loves to over deliver. Pat, the show is yours. You are the guest. I'm just going to be asking you questions here and there. This is your
Hey
show.
man,
This is your
we've
episode.
already been having a great chat. You guys already missed a couple heat-seeking missiles before you logged on. So thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate the time.
Pat, it is awesome having you. Thank you. I appreciate the time. So, Pat, where do you want to take it? You can kind of just go off however you want.
Well, maybe we'll just take it with what we were talking about before. So you're a young guy. You told me you're 22 years old, correct?
Take an ass, but yeah.
Yeah. So
love it.
So I just turned 38 February 15th, about a month ago. And I was telling you, I remember when I was 22, and I think that when you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily fit into the traditional scenario of just go to college and get a job. And I have somewhere where I'm going with this, because I wanted to be not only an audio engineer, but an entertainer. And I didn't want to just work for a company. I wanted to be a business guy, and I wanted to make my own money, but I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so I kind of had to get my feet wet, because 16 years ago, when I was your age, the landscape was a whole lot different than it is now. Like, there was no access to the YouTubes, and there was no access to I think that Facebook was still only available for college kids if they had a college email address. So yeah, you guys out there might laugh, call me old school, and you're right. I am old school, but there's a lesson in that, and it's called experience. And so I went to college because, mommy and daddy, I grew up real good. Mommy and daddy funded that opportunity for me. I went to a school in Arizona called the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences, so that I could use my passion for music, grew up in band class all through school, to get a job. Because if I just got a job, daddy would get my back, right? My dad's very successful businessman. He's a forensic accountant. He's like the Ben Matlock. For all you youngsters, look up who Ben Matlock is. The Ben Matlock, or like the James Bond of accountants. So he busts people for fraud. So probably why I'm so genuine when it comes to like money and shit like that. But the moral of the story was, I went to the school. I got the education, and then I pivoted and went to work for a company called PRG Audio in Vegas. Now, we talked about this beforehand. This is when the real hustler in me started to kind of come out, because now I had to perform on my own. You know, daddy paid for the opportunity in the school, but
You
now
took the action.
right now it's real world. So I'm living in my car in Vegas as an intern working for free for this company. And my dad's like, man, I mean, I could get you the some positions maybe here at Anheuser-Busch back home in St. Louis, or, you know, Johnny, the marketing guy, he knows Father Haneke from the parish that you grew up in. I'm like, no. We're not playing it safe. I will go sleep in my fucking car. I'm working at PRG Audio. They're the biggest. They got Tom Petty. They got Madonna. They got all the biggest names. That's where I'm going. If I don't get the job, I can always come home and you can call Father Haneke and get me hooked up. Okay. If I fall flat on my face. Well, I didn't fall flat on my face. I put myself in the line of fire. And within 5 days, I knew how to run the computer system better than anybody on the Tom Petty engineering team. And I was on the tour with Tom Petty within the first week, especially since those guys found out I was sleeping in my car in the parking lot,
which they dug.
Which, by the way, is illegal, which is illegal in that parking lot in Nevada. I found that out later from the CEO of PRG Audio. It was like, hey, so we're hiring you. Congratulations. And please don't sleep in your car again. We actually got a complaint from across the street, and he had this like whole conversation with me. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, I had to do what I had to do to get the job.
You probably built rapport just with that in itself, but that's
he's like, dude, you're phenomenal. He's like, you're going to be on tour with the Tom Petty tour starting next week. And I was like, oh my God, I got emotional. I started crying, but like at 22 years old,
visualize it and you manifested it, man.
Right. What you're doing right now to create those relationships, it's the same thing I did at your age.
You're the man.
I got around the people that had the success I wanted. I got around the people that knew the speaker systems, that had the connections to the rock stars. If I want to be a rock star, and I need to learn how everything works in the back end first, so that I can stand on the front end and know how this entire system is working. And what I learned now at 38 years old, after utilizing all these opportunities, eating shit. I mean, I slept on floors and in crazy places, bro, even at 30, 31 years old, because I know that's how it works to get opportunities. But at the end of the day, like at a gig like 10X,
whatever it takes,
I didn't mind being the dumbest person on that stage.
And thing, a
lot
man.
of people
I
would
wouldn't say that at all, because you're talking to the stage, you're sharing a lot of knowledge with the other guys, because you're doing whatever it takes.
Right.
You get me? And
in
always asking
areas,
questions and surrounding yourself and breaking glass ceilings for yourself, like you said. Just have to slap that in there. Go on, man.
No, I love that. But I want to empower people out there who might think they're a dumbass, because guess what? We all are in certain aspects.
Right.
And so don't let that stop you from shining at what you're a fucking expert at. And that's why I got that gig. Hey, just let me do what I'm an expert at. Let me play the lunch breaks. Let me get in where I fit in, and let me do that. And it was the same way I positioned the sale at the Tom Petty. Let me do the computer. The computer is what I know best. And if the computer doesn't work, your system fails. So you've got to have, it doesn't matter that I'm 22 years old and I don't have experience with all this other stuff. Let me strike where I strike best, better than anybody in this room. And I will do that to the best of my ability, and we'll win every night. That's why I got the gig. Same thing with Grant. Listen, I might be a dumb shit in this area, and this area, and this area, and this area, but I'm going to tell you, there's nobody you're going to meet that's going to crush those launch breaks harder than the acoustic force. You got to position yourself where you fit in. I think when we're young and stuff like that, or even now when we're entrepreneurs and we're growing up and we're coming up in the game, we don't want to ask questions or admit that we don't know anything. We feel like we're maybe less of a man or whatever. Dude, it makes you more of a man and more of an expert at what you're good at when you're able to hand the ball off and get advice from people that their strength is the area you're asking for support in. And so I think I really want to relay that message here, especially to like the younger audience that might be afraid to get on camera. Maybe you get some messages, oh man, you're so confident on camera and all this and all that. Well, yeah, he's putting in the work. He's putting in the work. 5 years from now, you know, when you're interviewing, who knows, God knows who, maybe Madonna comes on the show.
Pretty
Right.
Pass.
Maybe I email this to, Madonna's tour manager that I still know, and she comes on the show. Why? Because my expert isn't being Madonna, but I'm connected to her by the expertise that I had when I was 24 years old, and I met her in wherever we were, the United
And the
Kingdom,
relationships.
and I executed. And so that's what I would say, man, to the younger crowd is find what you love and what you're the best at, and go for it. A lot of people will tell you, man, you got to do where the money's at. You got to go where the money's at. You got to go where the money's at. If you're not passionate about that, you're not going to be successful. I mean, if we really want to be honest here, the chances of being successful in the entertainment industry are slim to none. How am I going to utilize my skills in entertainment in the current marketplace, the current landscape where there is a demand in what area, and how am I going to utilize my skills to deliver and over deliver in that area? For me, business and entertainment started to kind of mix. You see Pitbull speaking at Grant's events. You see Flo Rida, Floyd Mayweather, John Travolta. These guys are all making kind of this transition into the entertainment world. That is essentially a live entertainment conference. And so I thought it was really neat the way I was able to pivot and say, hey, let me get in here where I fit in here. And I ended up in front of 10,000 people, when a week or two prior, I was playing in the bar for seven people, but I showed up every single Friday night at that bar for 5 straight years. Never missed a gig. And that was just the Friday gig. Then you got the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Saturday, the Sunday. You guys got to be showing up every day. You can't just watch this man's show and then think, oh, I'm going to be successful. I watched a show. Pat told me I could make it. I mean, you got to do the damn work. So what does the work look like for you?
Love it.
And what are you willing to sacrifice?
I slept on air mattresses, by the way. Like,
dude,
when I had gone to Connecticut by myself, I had moved out. I didn't have anybody because I didn't grow up wealthy, but I'm like, fuck that. I want to create wealth. So I'm going to do it this other way. I was given the opportunity within 24 hours. I just made the decision. I'm like, fuck it. This is too good to not do over there. I'm going to get experience. I had one of the original Strat Nights from Jordan, the Alfred movie. He was mentoring me at the time. And I pretty much had a position there where I was given a white list like Brad when he was younger, Blazer. And I just called all these wealthy people and I was building relationships. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. Just phone calls. But I was sleeping on an air mattress. I didn't have a lot of cash. I flipped my car. I bought a training program. And over there, I had to sleep. It was just a lot of massive work. I loved it, though. Go on. I wanted to slide in there.
Dude, dude, it's all good. And listen, we're all at the end of the day on the same playing field. And I think that it's important for us to, like, again, I'm not the best analogy guy. The coaches, my guru friends are better at this than me. But like, again, I'm so old. There was this old game when I was a kid called Street Fighter. You ever played Street Fighter? I mean, everybody knows what that is, right? And if you scroll through the characters, like there's the big, strong guy, Zangief, but he's kind of slow. So he doesn't really match up well against Chun-Li because she's super fast and she can bounce off the walls. It's way easier to beat him with that character. This is the same thing as what we deal with in entrepreneurship and in people and personalities and character. Grant might be great at the whole real estate and the Facebook ads and this and that and the other thing. Where do I fit into that equation? Well, if my song is his Facebook ad, well, that's kind of an FU to the whole music industry, because now I have 100,000 views with no record label and I'm up on stage in front of 10,000 people. How am I utilizing my superpower to help other people succeed? And then I'm automatically pulled through the hole. And this is how I leveraged it way back in the day when I quit that audio job and I wanted to go do my own thing. Shit got hard because I came home to St. Louis and I had this conversation with old Papa Hilton and Mama Hilton. And I said, hey, I want to build my own company and I want to be my own business. And I think that if I utilize my technical skills and this new internet, this is like 2008.
When it was early. Like,
dude, this was like, you guys,
you were there. I'm just like, yeah.
you were 10 years old. And I'm like, if I utilize this
If at all.
Facebook, and I don't even think Instagram was out yet. Maybe it had just come out. And I'm like, this is where the whole entertainment market's going. Everybody's going to have their own show one day, and I'm going to be able to make songs and ads and all this kind of stuff. And my dad was just like, I just don't see it. You just quit this great job. You come home and you're pitching me on essentially living in my house for free, and it ain't happening. And I'm like, right. Well, what do you mean it ain't happening? And he's like, you're not doing that here. That wasn't part of our deal. And I'm like, oh shit, is this guy fucking serious? Is this guy kicking me out right now? Because I'll be honest, I was a pretty spoiled kid. Right? Very privileged in a lot of ways. My dad worked his ass off, came from nothing. But I think that maybe now that I'm 38 and I'm not 25 anymore, I see his strategy here. You go live with your friend Brad, sleeping on his couch with no fucking money, and tell me you want to be a rock star next week.
Love it.
And he gave me the look.
I was a rock star going in, man.
but here's the thing. He gave me the look. Like, there's no way that after a week or two, this dude isn't going to come back begging me for the Anheuser-Busch connection with Father Haneke or Archbishop Jimmy John that he's known for 30 years in St. Louis. And I'll get him a little job at the church or something. He'll be fine. No, dude. Fuck no. I went and I slept on, and my friend Brad Griffin, I'll send him this clip. His name's Brad Griffin. You can look him up on my Facebook page. Still a friend of mine today. Called him up and I'm like, dude, I'm sleeping on your floor tonight. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're starting a whole band. We're going to be the best alternative rock band in St. Louis starting today. He's like, don't you live in Las Vegas? I'm like, not anymore. I'm on my way to your house right now. And he's like, fuck yeah, let's fucking go. So there's always that person in this moment, this pivotal point of am I going to make it, that you can call. That person's on your contact list. Look for that person right now, because that moment of, am I really willing to fucking die for this, is going to come up in your life, and you're going to need the support of other people. So I called Brad.
Gotcha.
Brad let me start sleeping on his floor. And what I didn't realize when I got there was his brother, Alan, lived in the apartment across the way. And so I had my own little floor area there. I lived on that floor for 2.5 years. We started a band, and we took that band from playing in bar corners in St. Louis all the way to Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood, which, if you don't know what Whiskey A Go-Go is, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, everybody played at Whiskey A Go-Go, and we smashed that place. And then it got to a point where, it was like, do I take this thing and get a record deal, or do I turn it into this solo Pat Hilton business? Because that's how I started paying the bills, was with the acoustic guitar. That band wasn't necessarily making money. It was a visibility thing for people to come see Pat. So then I became Pat the acoustic guy, traveling all over the country, sleeping on people's floors. Gets to a point, I'm 30 years old, sleeping on people's floors in San Diego, never had a job for 5 years, just hustling, playing on street corners and shit. Moved into an apartment with my girlfriend in San Diego. We got engaged, right? So now it's starting to get a little serious. You got to deliver some monetary substance here. I had a lot of gigs, but I needed to get to the next level. So this is what we were just talking about. How am I going to associate with someone that can catapult me into a whole new level of using this skill to be a brand expert or whatever you want to call it? And so I made a song for Grant Cardone, sent it to him and his wife, and it showed up on all of his pages, and got on the stage at the 10X Growth Con in front of 10,000 people. I didn't get paid for any of that. He didn't cover the hotel. He didn't cover the trip. He didn't cover anything. He gave me an opportunity.
There we go.
And I think that some people overlook opportunities because it's disguised. This is an old guru term. It's disguised as hard work.
I love it.
And so, you youngsters that are 22 or 23 years old that see people flashing the millions on Instagram and their Ferraris and stuff, that's all great. And I think that's all grand. I think it's important to remember that they put in 20-hour days. If they're really making it like that, they put in 20-hour days. People love to talk smack on my buddy Rafael Vargas for driving around in his Lamborghini and flashing his suits and stuff like that. I know him personally, and he worked his fucking ass off to get where he is. Stylistically, we're probably way different. But that the hard work and the hustle thing, that's what brought us together and created a friendship. He wanted an MC that had put in the damn work, not just some guy. And so what you're going to find is the more work that you put in and the more people that you get around that are making the money that you want to make, that are accomplishing the success that you want to make, they're going to resonate with the fact that you are honest about where you are in the game, and they're going to help you get to the next level. Faking it doesn't work. You can only fake the funk with people that haven't done big shit.
Right.
Because the top dogs will sniff you out in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a strength of mine. I didn't have a choice, but to be real with people, I didn't have anything to leverage other than that guitar and a laptop that my buddy gave me, and turned it into an entire digital marketing agency. Now we're doing, you know, multiple 5-figure months.
What was driving you, like your passion behind all that? Because you definitely had something inside you that you were very passionate about. I'm not sure if you're still passionate now, but there was something, at least at that point in time throughout the years, you get me, leading up to success, just slamming glass ceilings and shattering limitations that other people thought were there, but you knew that they weren't there. You're just like, I clearly see this.
Well,
like what?
I think that I studied the technology. I studied the technology when I was 19 years old. I was studying the technology. Like I have a little Pro Tools rig down here that is sending my audio to your system. I've had this little digital Digi 003 rack. Right. It's called a Digi 003 rack. And if you Google it, I'd love for somebody to Google it and write it into the comments, because they don't even fucking make this box anymore. That's how old it is. Digi Design got bought by a company called Avid 6 or 7 years ago. This box is like over 10 years old, and it works just as people on Clubhouse tell me that my audio is better than everybody else's. Is it interesting how that works? It's not that I've got the newest, fanciest thing. It's that I know the technology. This is already 64-bit. There's not going to be any higher audio than that. I think that 32 is a CD. I could be wrong there, but I think it's close to that. But moral of the story is, if you know your shit, you can be resourceful when you might not have all the resources. So, you know, I mean, the Raphaels, I do like to use him as an example, because he was way more broke than I was when he was younger. He didn't have the same opportunities that I had in high school or college. But at the end of the day, we both, at some point in our entrepreneurial journey, ended up with jack shit, and we had to either produce or die. So I either kill my dream to give in and give dad the opportunity to give me some job. I'd be 30 pounds overweight working at Anheuser-Busch doing some lame ass marketing video today that I don't give a fuck about. Or I can be inspiring an entire generation of entrepreneurs to go against the grain, create their own business and their own dream and bring it to life and be successful. Which one has more impact?
Your passion. Because you were a visionary, you had a vision for what you wanted to do with that passion and the impact that you wanted to make with other people. Like the one that for the reason I started the show, Life by Design, Winning Success and Social Dynamics, I believe is that a lot of the time when people succeed, it's the social dynamics and the fact that they were designing every single area of their life. Right. Most people, just by tuning into an episode with Pat and Noel and Pat, what happens is that they're going to most likely have a paradigm shift. Once your mind shifts and you pretty much go into this new paradigm where your mind has expanded, it can no longer, it's impossible to go back to where it was. Now you know that stuff out there is real. You get me? That's going to be at the back of your head, and it's just going to be like, oh, but I could do this. Oh, so it kind of forces you to become successful. And I think that's a very good thing, because I think more people need that.
They do. And what you said
Yeah.
is so true. And I think it kind of goes into how I was trying to formulate an answer to a question. Usually I'm the interviewer, so I ask everybody the question. So if I'm babbling today, excuse me, folks. But
man, I'm loving this.
I would say that
For other people.
it changes. So like the goal that I had to get the PRG job, once I had it and I toured all over the world associated with all these freaking rock stars, my goal changed. I wanted to go back down and get to that level on my own. And while that level might have been, playing at the corner of the beach bar, well, that beach bar is what stimulated the energy and the drive to get on stage at 10X. And then getting all the way on stage at 10X stimulated the drive to, okay, well, how do I turn this into a digital marketing agency instead of Pat having to show up in 10 places at once? How can I make it so I pre-film 20 different things? I'm in 20 different places at once on social media this morning, and it's automated. And I'm creating opportunities for creators now because I've taught them how to use these templates to get views for our clients. And now I'm helping other people become rock stars on social media. So not only has this skill benefited me and all those long nights, and I mean, we can go into the alcoholism and the chemical abuse that was associated with that. I'm 900 days sober now, but that was a factor too.
God bless you, Pat.
Dude, it's just like you're looking for some kind of crutch to keep you going when the world wasn't believing in me. The weed did. So that's where I went sometimes for the confidence. And then when you have to, like Bradley, like I said earlier, sometimes you have to let go of things to pick up something else to get to the next level. And letting go of the guitar was
Bradley's
tough.
a good guy, man.
Great guy. I'm going to actually see him. I'm in Vegas at his office next Wednesday. I have a client doing some stuff with him. It's phenomenal what he does for people. But that dude's put a lot of time and effort into helping me shift and shape this new age version of what I can bring to the marketplace, rather than I just want to sing songs. Oh, I do want to sing songs, and I still do that. And I think that's part of what I market myself as, but that's only one thing on the menu, right? That's just the double cheeseburger. Not everybody wants the double cheeseburger. Some people want the vegan salad, right? You have to think about this is what Russell Brunson told me one time. I asked him, I literally asked him this. I had just introduced him on stage. And I'm like, so Russell, if you could give me one piece of advice on how to get out of the bar corners and go fully digital with my stuff, what's your advice? Clearly I want to use, and I do use ClickFunnels now, by the way. I'm a total ClickFunnel person because I support the people that backed me up when I didn't have shit. And I played that event for free too. And he was like, man, you got to create like a menu. So like, yeah, there's Pat. That's the premium service. People want Pat. That's the premium platinum. They get the song, they get this, they get that, they get your performance, they get your hosting as the MC. That's the platinum Pat shows up package. But like, how do you digitize that? Well, if you like what you see on my social, why don't I do that for your social? If you like what you see with my podcast clips, why don't I do that for your podcast clips? And you create a little menu. Not everybody wants the Pat Hilton, double cheeseburger and milkshake combo. Maybe somebody wants the vegan salad and the side of organic apple juice and the greens. Well, guess what? What's the upsell on this kind of? See, he's talking to me in funnel world, but I'm like, this guy's freaking breaking down some shit for me right now. How do I multiply myself and automate and delegate? That was my biggest issue. I always had to show up to play to get the cash. Well, how do I get you to do your show, and then our company cuts up the clips and you send those clips out to people that were on your show, and then you get some more clients because you're sending them something that they post on their page, and that cross traffic is drawing people now to your podcast, which we're going to do that for this show as well. We will cut up these clips, send them to you so that you can share them on your social media so that people can see, listen, you don't have to pay me to do it. We got plenty of business, by the way, but you should be doing it. That's the lesson here. How am I creating stuff that's hitting when I'm not even on my phone? If you go to my TikTok, I don't even run my TikTok. My buddy Nick does it. Let me go look here while we're on here. This was the biggest lesson. How do I get, if you want to be a social media, it just hit. while we were on this call,
You have
51
a lot of
minutes ago.
automation, Pat.
51 minutes ago, and it's just me and Brad Lee too, so it's even better. This hit TikTok. I wasn't even dealing with it, but I know I need content, but I need to create more visibility. I need to be on these shows. I need to be telling my story, but I also need to be living it, or I'm just as fake as the guru jokes I make. Correct. So I would say that I learned this.
Big gurus.
I learned this the hard way, though, way too late in the game. You guys that are young bucks, create some systems and some processes that work for you. For me, it was songs. For me, it was in-person events. For me, it was custom content, and then automate that for you, whether it's real estate wholesaling deals. I mean, if you guys need real estate wholesale, I know everybody.
$250,000 soon.
I know every single, you want all those people on your show, I'll message them all. I know them all. And I don't even do real estate, but that's the lesson, is that I'm good at what I do and I stay in my lane. I'm speaking at a real estate event with Brad in Houston, and neither one of us necessarily do real estate, but it's all about being real and being authentic and being genuine and bringing some value to the table. Listen, if you're able to find your superpower and automate that for you, and then make that process available to others, then now you're not just you are multiplying that. You're creating a whole web of
That's
flow.
what I've been going in that direction right now, because with the social dynamics, like I study pretty much everything that has to do with like human interaction, and kind of I've been putting out content now. My next plan is to hire somebody so that I can have more time myself. Right now, I got to close my first wholesale deal. I'm bootstrapped to the business. I'm going to make 10K, rebootstrap to that, make that 10K with the new business that I get, flip that into 50K. Then from then, I'm going to start getting people to work with me virtually. Then I'm going to have my first house in the Gables myself. I'm going to turn that house into an office. All right, fuck leasing an office. I'm going to have my own crib.
Dude, that's what I do. That's what I do. My kids beat down the damn door sometimes. And so when you said, brother, hey, what was the thing that you did? I mean, it's like Brad says, I mean, success is a combination of things. You know, yeah, I had to get really, really, really good at the guitar to get into those doors, but the guitar wasn't going to get me to the next level. It just got me in. I still play every day. I set aside a time, jam, write songs, do this and that and the other thing.
You should go Instagram Live, or I mean, I would capitalize that if you're not already even more, because I mean, not many people have mastery. You have mastery in several things, obviously, because you're older than I have a couple of things here and there, but for you, that being something that you're so good at, dude, man, I'm real as fuck. I don't give a fuck. But
you have good, to man. Be like now. You're good. You have to be now.
Like, does that make sense? Like,
no, I do.
It's good. And then other people tuning in maybe to like your IG lives, and then automating that. You get me online, and then figuring it out. You get me with your agency, or however you would do it. You get me, and however you would develop that idea, or if you already had that idea, you get me. However you would crunch that idea even further yourself with the agency, or whatever you would choose to do, and however you would want to create anything else with that entirely. Because you're good, man.
Does that, thank you.
That's like that's so you gotta.
No, I trust me, dude. I feel you, and I think that the older side of me now knows that while that is fun as fuck, when it comes to generating revenue for my business, I would definitely consider that one of the smallest percents of how we generate income. So while it's the most fun for me, the older experienced Pat would necessarily say that is just an add-on now. And it's just a lot of musicians and artists and entertainers will tell you, if they're genuine, like Justin Timberlake's a great example of this. So Justin Timberlake came up in the game. I was a sophomore in high school through a senior in high school. This was probably 97 to 2001. And NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys were the biggest fucking thing on the marketplace, right? The biggest thing out there. But that was when CDs were selling. Digital music downloads didn't really show up till like 2000, 2001. So if you were a nerd like me, you knew how to steal everybody's CD, but like not everybody was hip with that until like 2004. So they were a little bit ahead of the game in the fact that they were like one of the last boy bands that could blow out 10 million sales in records. It was not typical. And people like him had to adapt as they moved on. He went solo and did very well for himself. But nowadays, Justin Timberlake is writing the soundtrack for the Trolls movies that my kids watch. So it's interesting to see the dynamic of where's the marketplace and what is it demanding from my brand. And so JT still does music, but it's way more a pink poppy troll character dancing along to his beats and his songs, because guess what? That's where the audience is. My kids run around and act like Poppy all the time, beat my damn door down. And so I think it's important. And like you said, well, what was the passion? What was the passion? Well, the passion was to entertain by any means necessary. And I think that people who are artists and entertainers and creators understand that, yeah, I want to entertain, and I am doing that, and I am successful at that, but I've got to morph and mutate to what the marketplace demands. The marketplace is demanding this kind of audio chat, podcast, entertainment, entrepreneur conference, business talk, mindset, lifestyle, health, wealth kind of thing. It's very popular right now. And because I was an entertainer and a live entertainer for so long, if you guys haven't noticed, I can babble on for hours.
You're just dropping bombs, man.
But I also had to accept the fact that it's just not all about you singing. People want to hear the story. People want to hear that you had to sleep in your fucking car and that you had no money, even though you grew up very privileged and had the private school education. Even the dudes that might look like, oh, he had it easy, at some point, they generally got their ass kicked by somebody. Conor McGregor just got knocked out the other day, if you guys weren't paying attention. And why? Well, Conor took about 2 years off and drank whiskey. Now, I'm a huge fan of Conor, but I have no problem calling out the fact that Dustin Poirier has been way more consistent over the last 2 years, at least, has won about 11 out of 12 fights. And now when you match up Dustin against Conor, it's not a safe matchup for Conor anymore because Dustin is more seasoned. He's been in the ring, put in more time, taken more shots, and was able to handle Conor's heavy blows now more compared to when he was younger and was able to put Conor away. So I think it's important to understand that while you might feel like the young, inexperienced guy and you feel like maybe there's a little imposter syndrome there or something.
No, dude, I love it. I'm very comfortable with myself, dude.
Right.
I worked a lot on myself.
Hey, and that's great. But
Like,
you see some of these idols or people that you look like Brad, I never thought I'd be necessarily speaking at an event with Brad, but now the inevitable has happened. I'll be introducing him in Houston in just a couple weeks.
What he shares a lot with what you said is that you could have like the whole world believe in you. Doesn't mean shit, man, because you got to believe in yourself. Kind of like what you shared. Go on, please.
Oh, dude, everything you're saying is true. And I'm having fun because, like I said, normally I'm asking all the questions. And so this gives me a chance to ramble. But I just really want to seize the opportunity to tell people that when people, even your own father, might challenge you, and it hurts, dude.
Yep.
It does. Like, it brings tears to my eyes. But, dude, it's the best thing that he ever did for me. It's the best thing that he ever did for me was say, I'm not handing it to you, dude. I can't do it. This was not part of our deal. He's an accountant guy. He goes, by the numbers. Our deal was you pay for the school, you pay for the college, I'll get a job and I'll work a job. I fucking quit the job. Now it's on me.
Fuck the job, dude. You're chasing your dreams.
It's not, but I think it's important to remember that when you make deals with people, this is important to remember. And when you make deals with people, it's important to understand the deal that you've made and to overdo the deal. And when the deal is up, sometimes that deal is up. Sometimes people sign up for 12 months of your service and they're not paying anymore. And it's right before Christmas. And now maybe we're struggling a little bit. So you guys got to prepare for this. So that's why I want to seize the opportunity. There's going to be those moments where it feels like, oh man, even my own family's questioning me, but they're only questioning you because they want to see results. Your results will speak for you when you accomplish the things that you say you're going to do and then do it. And then you have what we call social proof that you went out there and did it. You can go watch me at 10X right now. And I literally walk up there and say, I was homeless a few years ago in my van, and this is the biggest performance of my life. And then guess what happened? We didn't have time to test the guitar thing. It's fucking cutting in and out the whole time. And what did I do? I just made it part of the act. I played
You
through
made it better. They didn't know though. They didn't know though, right?
I don't even think that they even realized it. And I'm not calling them out. I mean, they were strapped for time.
No, you were the one that pivoted. Okay, let's.
But if you look at it, I have to lift my arm and you can see the receiver like picks up reception again, and then it like works for a second, and I have to like lift up I have to like spin around in circles and stuff to get it to like pick back up. You're gonna have to adapt on the fly when you commit to something, and you might be in over your head a few times, but when you deliver, you will be rewarded. Again, while I may have not gotten paid monetarily by Uncle G that day, the rewards of me accomplishing that for me and proving to me and others that it's possible to get up on those stage when you got damn near nothing but the suit jacket that you got married in. I mean, if that isn't enough for people to understand that this isn't necessarily about money or cars or watches, it's about heart. And the guy that's willing to die to succeed is the guy that wears the title.
Don't bet against that guy.
He's the guy that walks away with the title. Thomas Edison's
words, by the way. He would always share that whenever a guy's willing to bet his life, you get, one spin of the wheel. Don't bet against that guy.
Right. My kids are over at my mom's house, and I think that my kid has never been away from mommy, so it's been a little bit of hell for grandma. But that's another thing, is it's just like now I have kids. So am I going to
how's being a dad like? Because when you were performing, I'm sure you were like macking it out there. How was that like, kind of like settling down afterwards?
Yeah, we macked it out a little bit,
What's up,
So I used to travel with this dude, this rapper. His rap name is Coolio, right? Yeah, and Coolio has this hit song called Gangster's Paradise, right? Man, Coolio gets all the girls. So essentially it goes back to square one. It is. It kind of goes back to square one. I did the marketing. I did the venue communication. I was the opening act, and I would like DJ and stuff like that. So I took a lot off his plate so that I could be a part of those tours and leverage his brand so that we could have sold out shows and travel all over the country. So I found a way to service him that other people weren't doing an authentic way. You get up in the game. People wanted to rip off X amount of percent from his show earnings, and they weren't even there, and all this kind of shit. That doesn't benefit my friend. You're fucking robbing
industry,
the guy.
Right? Like the old school music industry.
Bro, this is
everybody
old
could just like, yeah.
Handshake agreements. Like when Grant booked me, it was off of a handshake, in person. There was no contract, nothing. It was literally just like old school, alleyway freestyle kind of shit. So a lot of deals that I've closed are like that. I know in the real estate industry, you have to have contracts and stuff with people. I'm not suggesting that you run your whole business that way, but you're going to have to understand.
Learning, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm taking notes. I don't know if you see me when I'm like this, but I am taking notes too.
If you're a real estate person, you better fucking get DocuSign and learn how to use it. But I am saying that when it comes to one-on-one communication with people that you're building trust with, essentially, it doesn't matter what you have on paper. If they're going to hose you, they're going to hose you. So you've got to understand that too. And I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it all comes down to that one thing. All I ever wanted to do,
the way you're doing it.
All I ever wanted to do is entertain people. So while Coolio really helped me a lot for a while, my buddy Joe is AfroMan. He really helped me out for a while, but it got to a point where I over delivered on that, and I kind of moved on to this next thing. And then I toured with MTV and Johnny Knoxville and Bam Margera back in their heyday, and Wee Man would skate around on his little skateboard and all that kind of stuff. I'm old school.
Pat. You should post more of this online, because this episode's badass. But
I don't talk about this stuff that often because I use. Yeah. but yeah, I mean, it's just like all of those experiences were great, but today,
You, were,
in today's
you
current
can't read about that.
landscape,
You got to
what
be in that
am I doing to show up? And I think I have to formulate a new plan
knowledgeable.
every day for expansion, a new plan every day for how am I going to entertain with what fits today. MTV Jackass isn't on TV anymore. Coolio and Joe, still my homies, but I mean, they're not number one in the game right now. And that's okay. I'm sure I'll still work with them in the future. And I still get Joe to do voiceovers and stuff for me. You know, people want AfroMan on a voiceover. I've done that for real estate companies in California and stuff like that, where it fits into the model a little better. But how is Pat going to adapt to the current landscape? And I started targeting business owners that have way more money than me, that are way better at sales, way better at finances, way more market savvy than I am, and was open to, hey man, how do I use these skills to turn this into a business and get paid? And it all came
For
down
anybody, I'm
to
gonna sorry to interrupt you right now.
do
For
it.
anybody else right now, by the way, with that, because I want to let Pat continue, because he's dropping bombs. What he did between all of this, just to kind of break it down, he believed in himself. All right, continue. And with that, you get me. This is kind of what happened. He had a vision. He kind of designed it,
Yeah.
and he specifically had his own vision. You get me. I'm much younger than him. I wasn't even around when he was alive for. I
Yeah.
think maybe a couple years. Maybe he's 38. I'm 22. Like maybe over 10 years. Somebody can do the math. But
Yeah.
specifically, you get me with that. He was crushing it because he
Yeah.
believed in himself and he was willing to do or die.
And
So
that's
for
it
anybody,
right
that's how
there.
you do it, by the way. So just go
Right
on, please.
there's a band I used to listen to, their rap group out of Chicago called Do or Die. For all you youngsters, check out Do or Die. Do or Die. Po Pimp is the name of the song you need to listen to and bump in your rolls when you get those big wholesale deals. Po Pimp by Do or
Oh yeah,
Die. But that is the moral of the story. Is ever since I was a kid, it was, how am I going to entertain people and how am I going to get paid for it? And so I had to learn the back end of that. If you want to make millions of dollars in wholesaling, you got to learn the back end of that. What marketing am I using? Is it direct mail? Is it one-on-one phone calls? Is it mass text messages? Is it Facebook groups? Is it bandit signs? I mean, I could go industry by industry a little bit because I've been around it, but like, there's a lot of ways to close a real estate deal. You better figure out what works for you and then be
right.
the best at that. The best at that. For
For me, it's
me,
phone calls.
right, dude, phone calls that's never going away.
I love it.
It's never going away. Cold calling works for a lot of people. And so you have to find out what you're good at, and you have
And
to
anyone can get good.
you got to leverage everything else. But, and I know people talk about, oh, you got to systematize and automate. Well, when you're broke as fuck, like I was, it's pretty hard to systematize and automate. So you better show up in person and get around people that can get you paid exponentially more than what you're making, so that you can create that, what we call in the audio industry, headspace in your business. If you look at an audio mix and the wave is this big and you've got this much space, you got to expand it. You got a ton of headspace. If you're small in your business earnings and you want to grow that, well, how am I going to fill that headspace? Number one, you need more deals, period. This is a Brad Lee thing. You need to, one, do more or get better. And then two, you need to create a system so that you can grow. It might mean you sacrificing your income for a couple months. I know a lot of guys, my buddy Nick Perry, who's speaking at that event, you were talking about the ad I made for them. Dude, it took him like 10 months to get his first wholesale deal. Now he's got some company called the 7-Figure Cartel. I can probably guess how much money he's making every year, if you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
So you guys that are out there, you gotta be the expert first. You can't just rely on, I'm going to get around all the experts, I'm magically going to make it. You have to be the
Put in the
expert
work,
at
man, and you got to
something.
develop your craft. Like for me,
And
pretty much, when I had Jordan Belfort's, there was this gentleman by the name of Peter Gilletta. He was one of the original 12 Strat Knights from the Jordan Belfort movie. I had a 6-figure job when I was 19, but I left because I didn't believe in the product. This was different. He kind of took me under his wing for a little bit. And before that, I purchased Cardone University. And I did it the same way Grant did. I had worked there for a little bit anyways. And then with the last track that I got there before I left, my mom went into debt for after that program, and then that check that I got from them, and we kind of just taught Cardone University, exact same way that he did it. Now you performed at the 10x Growth Conference event, which is massive.
Yeah, and
I trained
I
on that
met
a lot,
him. Yeah, dude, and I met him
and
in
then
the
straight
same
line
way that I was
systems and
just
all that.
I was just saying I met him the same way. Is I literally, so I left this part out because it's not glorious, but I made the song. I got essentially booked, but he hadn't really said yes. He was not telling me no. Call this person, call Sherry Hamilton, call Jared Glant, call Katie, call this person. He's bouncing me around the office a little bit. And I can't really get a yes, but no one was telling me no. And he keeps sharing these song videos. And you guys are going to run into this too. How far are you willing to go to get the deal? How far are you willing to go to get the deal? And how much does the deal mean to you? Most average people would have said, I don't know, fuck it. Right. And it's just an event. I'll get more events. No, dude, I'm playing. No, I'm playing. This guy's sharing my shit. He obviously thinks it's dope. Nobody's ever told me that I was really that great at this. It was just a joke at first, but I knew that these funny videos and like advertising jingles could be something. And this was the only guy that ever shared it that was big in the space. And I'm like, all right, well, and the advertisement popped up on my screen and it said Elena Cardone is speaking at the Thrive event in Las Vegas. And I'm like, the Thrive event in Las Vegas. All right, let's see how much tickets are. And it's like, it was expensive. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just break into the event. I'll just fucking bust the goddamn doors down and close the deal. So I'm like, all right, well, honey, my wife was pregnant at the time. We needed something. We needed something big. And I'm like, we're going to play this. I still had to play my $100 job that Friday, guys. So I played my little $100 gig from 5 to 8 in San Diego. We lived at the time. And we drove overnight to Las Vegas, stayed in the Best Western. Do not stay at the Best Western in Las Vegas. It's disgusting. Yeah. Anywhere but there. But anyway, we stayed at this Best Western because it was cheap. It was cheap for a reason. And I showed up at this Thrive event with my pregnant wife to close Grant Cardone on this deal face to face. And I came up the escalator to get into this VIP area, and you needed like a green bracelet or something to get in. I didn't have one and my name wasn't on the list. So the security guy was like, sorry, dude. I'm like, that's so weird. I'm not on the list, blah, blah, blah. Let me go see if I can find my friends. And I like come down the escalator. And I got to be honest. I'm like, fuck. I'm thinking on my feet. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Cause I can't just blow past here. These guys, they will tase me. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm walking through the hallway and I start to get kind of sad because I can like see my wife like way down the hallway and she kind of like gives me one of these, like a thumbs up. And I'm like, nah, it's not going well right now. And it was so smoky in the bar and she was pregnant. She had to stand out in the hallway. I'm telling you guys, some of this shit's not glorious. And I'm like, fuck, dude. I kind of look up at the sky and I'm like, should I wait? And I'm like talking to myself and my butt, and I hear someone be like, yo, Hilton, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing here? And I'm like, and this is that power of association thing, that person that you can leverage at the last minute when you're fucked. And my buddy Frank Sell was there. Look up Frank. He's got this big, huge beard. And he's like, dude, what are you doing here? I haven't seen you all weekend. And I'm like, Frank, listen very closely right now. I need you to help me get past the security guys so I can close Grant Cardone on 10X. I met Frank, and I was telling the story about the meltdown earlier. I met Frank at that meltdown event when I had no money. And I'm like, dude, this is it. I remember telling you on that stage, I'm going to play 10X Growth Conference. I'm seconds away from closing this deal if I can get past that security. He's like, oh, dude, we got you, dude. I'll get you a bracelet, dude. No worries. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, Pat, just roll into our group. And so I like roll into their group, like huddle style. And I like reach my arm out and they like put a band on and I like kind of roll through the security. And I'm like on the other side and I'm like, oh shit. And literally within 20 seconds, Cardone comes walking out the door, and I'm like, Uncle G, what's going on, dude? I just like jump out in front of him, and he's actually like a little guy. So I'm like
Yes.
I'm like this big Shrek looking monster.
Strong.
And I'm like, dude, it's Pat from Instagram. And he's like, yeah, I know who you are. You're the Jingle Man. And I'm like, yeah, dude, the Jingle Man. I'm like, dude, I know I've been bugging the shit out of you. I drove here from Las Vegas with my pregnant wife, and I look over. My wife is at the escalator now because she's like ready to go. She's like, fuck this. This isn't worth it. Tired. I'm pregnant. She walked through the smoky bar up there to like, we're either giving him the gig or we're leaving. I'm like, dude, she's literally standing right there in this smoke-filled casino because I've got to get a yes today. I need this job, dude. I'm willing to go all the way, man. I'm doing everything you teach us. Feed the beast. Be obsessed. I mean, I need this, or I'm stuck in the fucking bar, unable to pay for that kid in her belly, playing in the corner of the bar. I'm better than that. Let's go. And he's like, dude. And all these people are around. It gets like really quiet. And then some guy, I think he's a friend. I think his name's Marshall Gillen. It was Marshall. He's like, give him the deal, Grant. And he's like, should I give him the deal? He's a hustler. Hey, you got the deal, man. Pat the Jingle Man. And he gave me the job. I had very little money at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this was like going all the way. We just did a show this morning called Weekends Make Champions. Weekends make champions. A lot of people, they take the week off. I could have sat in the sand that weekend in San Diego with my feet in the sand and relaxed with my wife. But no, we went all the way. My wife was like, if you're driving all night, I'm not staying here pregnant in this apartment. I'm going to. How much are you willing to go for it to have people that are willing to fucking die for it with you? So she's hardcore too, but that gig, that's actually how I closed the deal. That's actually how it got. It wasn't just I messaged somebody and closed the deal. I had to go all the way face to face. Sometimes you guys got to like think about what the extra mile is and then go 10 more miles. Because 1 mile isn't enough. Somebody is going that extra mile with you, but they ain't going to go 10. They ain't going to go 15. You know, you see a guy, he's box. I love the boxing analogy because it's one-on-one, it's toe-to-toe. You see a guy, he's dominating for the first 8 or 9 rounds, and then he starts getting tired, starts getting a little sloppy, and he gets knocked out. When George Foreman came back and won the title, he was fighting this guy, I think it was Ray Mercer, and Foreman was getting dominated through 8 or 9 rounds, dominated. He was just not landing. He was getting older and slower. And it was like, oh man, this might be the end of George Foreman. And he was able to, in like the 9th or 10th round, start to kind of like find an opening. He was able to like find an opening and landed like a 1-2 and put this guy away and won the title again, like 20 years later after he lost to Muhammad Ali. Nobody thought he could do it. They were just like, oh, this comeback is a joke. You're the Foreman grill guy, you know, stick to being Pastor George or whatever. And he was like, no, dude, I'm putting this guy out cold. And he knocked this guy out cold. You should go watch the replay. I'm telling you, he was getting dominated. I think it's Foreman versus Ray Mercer. I could be wrong, but I think it is. And so I'm telling you, there's going to be times where you're taking a lot of shots, you're behind on points, and you've got to land something powerful to get the win, and it's in you. And that's when that passion comes in. Like, am I really going to be remembered for singing fucking Brown Eyed Girl on the beaches of San Diego? No, dude. I'm closing this guy. I don't give a fuck what the closer's guide says. I don't care if I push it too far. Then at least he tells me no. Because I haven't heard no yet.
I think, for example, like when it comes to sales, I went to Harvard for sales. Like I've done a lot of in-person sales. I've been selling since I've probably been like 5. Like I have a very strong entrepreneurial background for sales. And when it comes to sales, I think the most powerful thing is like your heart. Like when you're just real,
totally.
Like when you're like, when you're around like the most elite top producers like in the world, like you've been like, you got me, I've been in my own way. It's like when you have something from your soul, that is the close. That's
It is.
exactly like
It
what you
is.
did.
And that's exactly, I met Brad Lee that night, and we've had this
That's the shit,
conversation
man.
before. And he was like, dude, I remember being in the hallway for that. And it was so awkward because you wanted to play the lunch break so fucking bad. And it's like, geez, God, let the guy play the lunch break. You can't tell this guy no. What does it really hurt you? He's like, you even pitched it like you can either play the same Kanye West playlist every day during lunch, or you can let me go up there and tell everybody how great you are.
Come on,
He's
baby.
like, who wouldn't have booked that? I mean, he would have come off like the biggest asshole if he told you no. But at the same time, he didn't book Pat. This is the lesson here. Out of anything in this whole episode, he didn't book necessarily Pat, the song guy. He didn't necessarily book me because of the content that I made. He didn't necessarily book me because any of the stuff that I like made for him or the messages or the phone calls. He booked me based on what he felt when he met me. It had nothing to do with music. It had nothing to do with how funny the videos were. It had nothing to do with anything other than the realness and what he felt. And they say this a lot. People will never remember you for how much money you make, but they'll always remember you for how you made them feel.
Right.
And in my opinion, when you said what kept you going through all those years earlier, that's what it
That's
was.
very
man.
inspiring, dude.
I
Like,
want
you
to
were
make
dropping
people
bombs about like
feel good.
Steve-O, you get me. We met like it's like what the fuck? This guy's been everywhere. He's been on MTV, you get me. He's been cruising with like what was it, like the Beastie Boys? Or was it the Beastie Boys?
So I played a
Fucking
gig
A, dude.
at Whiskey A Go Go, and the Beach Boys and the Beatles and a lot of people have played there. So I've never really done anything with the Beastie Boys, but the Beach Boys and a lot of historical rock bands have all played at Whiskey A Go Go, and we've
For
done
the
that
younger guys,
venue
they're a huge
multiple
band.
times.
They were like
Right?
national.
Yeah, huge band. Probably in that era of like beach music, they're the biggest. I mean, who hasn't heard Surfing USA?
I have
Everybody
it, but that's
going
because I'm too young.
surfing, Surfing
Yeah, I've heard it.
USA. Yeah, you've heard it. So probably that's one of those songs that's like on Target now. Here's a lesson for you young bucks. If you're on playlists on Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, what's out now? Sprouts. I don't know what's in your area. Piggly Wiggly, or whatever those things are.
Whatever's in Miami.
You made it. Okay. You don't get your name on any of those playlists unless you are a major royalty producer for a record company, meaning you're one of the biggest songwriters of all time. Guarantee you, when those guys wrote those songs, there was a time in their career where people were like this. People told the Beatles that they were never going to make it as recording artists, that they should just be a cover band. I wonder who that guy's name is and how dumb he feels now.
Yeah.
So it's just like you said, man, it's about heart. People are going to give you the wholesaling deal or the media deal or whatever based on you, not even necessarily the media. I have people that we do media for that they don't even look at their Instagram page. I mean, yeah, we do a great job. We're not half-assing it, but they like what we do because it's us. Because it's us. We like it because we like Pat. And we want to support Pat, and he does great
cool,
shit.
Dude, man.
He's
I hope
got.
you think the same for me.
Hey, man, I
like
love
when
it.
people like me, but I think you're really fucking
I
cool,
think
dude.
that you've done a great job of just letting
cool,
me go completely off the wall and ramble. I think we've made some good points. My digital assistant man, Nick, will chop this all up into hot clips for us. But that is the moral of the lesson here. This is what I wanted to do, is entertain people. I'm having so much fun right now because I'm entertaining myself. I'm making myself feel good. And so that's the name of the game, dude. Heart and realness, because people feel that, man, more than any song you write or deal you close or car you drive or suit that you buy. If you're real as fuck, you will find the right people. Plain and simple. End of story.
You want me to end it,
period.
or like, do you want to say something else?
Yeah. Well, that's
I
that's
mean,
the
this
moral
is
of the
real. That's what I'm
story.
sharing. Is like,
That I've had fun. I've had fun just kind of going off on a tangent. And I think that's the point of this episode for me, is to kind of allow my hyperactive, crazy energy to go where it needs to go. And I
which most people
appreciate
need.
I appreciate you not making it too structured. I hope that people got something out of it, but that would be my big lesson for this is what kept me going. When I grew up very well and it got to some really hard times. I mean, I've stolen food from grocery stores because I had no money, and my dad's very successful. But that's the lesson. It doesn't care who gives a fuck what my dad did.
That's super inspiring, actually. Like that's the part,
It's
obviously.
time for
But
you to provide.
but where you were at inside, does that make sense? Like I don't know, like
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I mean, like specifically, but when somebody's willing to literally just do or die, and you kind of just create that. I mean, fuck, dude. Like, I think everybody in the world should be like that. That's specifically why we have the podcast. Like,
It's
what
the
I
name of the
have on my
game.
Instagram bio, like, I want to make the globe conscious success, and this is what I'm embarking on for the rest of my life now. And I'm gonna die or do. And if I get killed in the process, I'm cool with that. But I'm most likely gonna do it because I'm gonna automate everything. You get me, and I'm gonna make sure that I can make as much impact as possible.
I love
That's
it,
that's
man.
that's
And
that's the way I want to do it. I want
I
to make
think
sure
you're
that
going to be
everybody in the world is
successful.
like Pat. You get me? I want to make sure everybody in the world is like living all out. You get me, with that spirit, and then the life of that, because of the passion, the fun, the fulfillment, the joy, and everything else that comes together. You get me, an explosive. You get me, home run. And I don't think enough
Yeah.
people do that, man, because most people will get to the end of their life, but like the song of what they wanted to do was just on their lips, and that maybe in the back of their throat. Like it just, they just, they just, they just kept fucking. It's like horrible. I don't know. Like it's not a way of. I don't think that's normal. It's like I think it's pretty bad, man.
Well, I know what
Um,
you're saying, and it's
like
it's if you don't lean into what you want to
that'll affect
become,
generations of like your own
right?
kin, generations of other kins. Like that'll affect like it's like uh, uh, one person not living up to their potential has a massive rippling effect. You go out into the world with all your beliefs and limitations, you're fucking people in the ass and you don't even know it. It's like keep the fuck away. Let me inspire you. Go watch this episode.
Right. It's true though, man. I think that's the lesson. If anybody gets anything out of this today, would be
Get
to
out of
just
here.
go
This
for it.
guy's too humble.
Go for it, and be willing to, be willing to fight, because I'll tell you, anybody I've ever met that dealt with major success also dealt with major loss. There's a story Grant tells. Before we log off, we'll tell this one. It's a Goalcast video. It went very viral, where he talks about how he was a drug addict, and he got in with the wrong people, and a guy broke into his house during, I guess, a drug deal. I don't know, but whacked him with a gun and knocked him out. And he had to go to the hospital, and his mom was at the hospital, and she's like, "You're going to die if you don't fix this problem." And, he was working this job, and he hated the job, and he was unhappy, and he was an addict. And he looked at his life and he said, "How can I fix this?" Because when he was leaving rehab, and this is the key element here, the guy who was helping him in the place when he was leaving, the guy told him, "You'll be back." Your number one focus should just be not doing drugs. Because I mean, you will be back here, and all this author and speaker and millionaire stuff that you talk about, man, you just need to focus on like not doing drugs, or you're going to be back here. And he was like, "Dude," and I saw him say this on the video, "I wish I could see that motherfucker now." Because look at the opportunities that he's providing, not only for people like me, but for the people in his association, for his real estate investors, for his wife, his children, because he went out and said, "I'm not going to accept this as my final result." And he went into the job that he hated the next day, and he started staying later. And he started reading books and became the top salesman in that organization. And Grant actually used to coach car salesmen before he was the Grant that we know. There's people I know that knew him 25 years ago when he would do car sales seminars. And now he's doing 10X Growth Conference. That dude worked his way up in the game, just like me, just like you're
Thanks
going
to
to have to
Bradley,
do,
by the way, with
and just like
LSBT,
everyone else.
going
Yeah.
all over the country.
Lightspeed made it digital. So, yeah, that's the name of the game. If you got a dream out there, I don't care necessarily what it is or what people tell you. You can make it work if you want it bad enough, because that's essentially what it's going to come down to. There's a lot of stuff going on in this country. And I don't want to go on too much of a rant on this, but where people feel sorry for themselves and like somebody owes them something. And this victim, I'm a victim. Welcome to the fucking club. Welcome to the club. I had a fucking quite upper middle class, you could call them rich family growing up. My dad started with nothing too. My mom had to buy my dad underwear for his first accounting interview because he was so fucking broke. And now he owns multiple properties and is a partner in an incredible accounting firm. He put in his 35 years too. Quit complaining. At the end of the day, your results are what matters. And they're all anybody wants to see. So, for me here today, it's like if I was still the bar corner guy and I hadn't gotten the results because I didn't take the extra steps, that's my fucking fault. Not my dad's fault or Megan, my wife's fault, or the kid's fault. You didn't fucking push it far enough. That's why you didn't get the deal. Fortunately, it's the opposite. I'm psychotic. Clearly, you've seen me on here for an hour. So I was willing to do whatever it took to get that deal done. I think
that's the norm. Like what you are, I think that's normal. I think
you got to be crazy.
Not normal.
And Tim Grover says this: if people aren't calling you crazy, you ain't working hard enough.
I think they're the ones that are crazy because
they are.
You could actually do what you want. So I think what you are is a beast, a superhuman, and I think that should be the norm.
It should.
That makes sense.
And we need to empower people.
Get, like, that being the norm.
Yeah, we empower people and we encourage them to use their superpowers, magnify those superpowers, and then help other people find that superpower in themselves. And that, like you said, well, like, what was your passion? I think I learned some of this throughout the course of the game, right? Well, if I've got this crazy hyperactive through the fucking roof energy, well, how do I find that in other people and bring that out on camera? How do I find that in the real estate guy that I'm running his media for? How do I find that in my landscaping client and bring that out into the and turn him into a camera of the landscaping guru now? How do I help other people use their voice and use media without a guitar or whatever, and just be themselves and generate more revenue, get on media platforms, showcase their stuff, and close more deals for their business? And that's what I did. And that's way bigger than any hit song, man. I'm affecting people's families now. I'm helping people pay the bills. I'm providing, American workers jobs now. There's a lot on my shoulders now that wasn't there before. Over the last 2 years, we've grown a lot. I'm sending people paychecks. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's also, with big goals means big responsibilities. So you've got to prepare for that mentally. If you're not putting in the work every day and all of a sudden you're going to onboard all this stuff, you're not going to be ready for it. I put in years and years and years and years of showing up every day at 8 a.m. playing the guitar. This ain't no thing for me. I've already done 2 shows today before this. So I'm on a roll now. But that's the name of the game: consistency, persistence, following your heart, and no matter what, you got to do, in my opinion, of course, as an artist, you got to do something you love. If you don't love it, you're not going to be any good at it unless you're doing it purely for sales. For someone like Grant Cardone, it was a way out. The sales became like a way out for him. So I get it. So he started to kind of love the sales aspect of it. It was a quote unquote job he hated, but he started to love sales. So he still kind of loved it, if you get what I mean. But you guys can do it, man. Whatever it is, you can do it. If you're struggling, you're hurting, and you see this, DM me at PatHiltonLive on Instagram, and man, I'll send you a video message or something, show you some support, because I know what it's like to be broke and to be addicted and to feel hopeless. It sucks, but that is not the time to quit. You're already in pain. You might as well get a reward for it. So keep going. So I appreciate you, man. I hope everybody gets something out of this episode. Thanks for having me.
Pat, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for stopping by. For all of you guys here that were able to get pretty much a master class that Pat could probably sell for $1,000 if he really wanted to, and people would buy it and they would get value out of it. They really would. Because he's giving you the keys to success. Does that make sense? Like the keys were in your hands. Pat's telling you, here are the fucking keys. Fucking use that shit. All right. Otherwise, you're not going to become successful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to eventually come down to grit too. Like you got to be gritty. And like I said, you're going to have to swallow your pride a little bit too. Because sometimes, you know, the picture of that you have in your head for success is going to change as the marketplace changes, as the financial landscape changes, as uh, it used, like I said, it used to be CDs. Now it's digital. It used to be a whole lot more based on music. Now it's podcasting and voice chatting and monetizing these conversations. It's still entertainment, but how are you utilizing your voice to get your message across in the modern day marketplace as well? And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I sell. But at the same time, I encourage you to go out and sell yourself, because that's what people are going to be buying at the end of the day is you. So you need to go out there and exude confidence and put it out there, because people will receive it if you're willing to give it. So